Hello, everyone. Greenland isn't just a huge piece of ice. It's a strategic lever. So when Donald Trump talks about Greenland, he's not talking about tourism. And it's not only about minerals in a general sense. He's talking about something much more basic: position. Position in the Arctic. Position between North America and Europe. Position that matters for security, for surveillance, for space, and for the next generation of trade routes. The real question isn't, does he want it? It's, what is he willing to pay to get it? Now, before we go further, one important correction. Greenland isn't for sale the way people imagine. Greenland has its own government and its own parliament. It runs most internal policy. Denmark still controls things like defense and foreign policy at the realm level, but Greenland decides a lot on its own, including how resources are managed. And there's also a real independence debate inside Greenland. So when Washington talks about acquiring Greenland, it isn't a simple negotiation. It becomes a sovereignty issue and potentially a political crisis inside Denmark, inside Greenland, and inside NATO. So why does Trump keep coming back to this idea? First reason, the Arctic is no longer empty space. For decades, the Arctic felt like the edge of the world, a place you see on the map, but not a place you seriously plan around. That's changing. As ice conditions shift, the Arctic becomes more accessible. Not always easy, not always safe, not always a stable new highway, but accessible enough that military planners, intelligence services, and big powers pay closer attention. And in that Arctic picture, Greenland sits in a brutally important spot. It's right in the corridor between North America and Europe. If you care about early warning systems, air and sea routes, submarine movement, and the key choke points of the North Atlantic, Greenland is not a side story. It's central. That's why the U.S. has been there for decades. The clearest symbol is Pituffik Space Base, the former Thule Air Base. This isn't a normal base. It plays a role in missile warning and in space-related operations. In plain language, it helps the U.S. see things earlier and respond faster. So from Trump's worldview, Greenland is not expansion for fun. It's a way to reduce risk in a region where Russia is active and where China wants more influence. Second reason, space and radar are the new backbone of deterrence. In the Cold War, deterrence was mostly about missiles and submarines. Today, it's also about information, what you can detect, track, and intercept quickly. That's why space infrastructure matters so much. And that's why Greenland matters. Its geography is perfect for systems that watch the North, track movement, and support space-based defense. The U.S. already benefits from that. But Trump's logic is more aggressive and more permanent. Lock the position down, expand the footprint, and reduce the political friction of negotiating every step with partners. In other words, Greenland is a platform. A platform for sensors, for tracking, for early warning, and for faster response. In a world where the U.S., Russia, and China are back in direct strategic competition. Third reason, minerals, but the real story is slower than people think. Yes, Greenland gets discussed a lot because of rare earths and other critical minerals. And those resources do matter. But the mineral story isn't dig and win. Greenland has been cautious for years about major mining projects, especially those tied to uranium concerns and environmental risk. There have been serious political disputes and legal fights around mining policy. So minerals are not a quick cash grab. They're a long-term hedge. If the U.S. wants alternatives to supply chains dominated by Chinese processing, Greenland is one of the few places that looks promising on paper. But promising doesn't mean easy. It means slow. It means political. It means expensive. So the question comes back, what price is Trump willing to pay? There are 3 layers to that price. Layer 1, money, serious, long-term commitments. The clean version is investment. Not just a few projects, but major long-term commitments. Infrastructure, ports, airports, connectivity, public services, education, healthcare, and ongoing funding that matches or even exceeds what Greenland already receives through Denmark's block grant support system. In practice, that's the real pitch. We're not buying land. We're buying stability. We're offering a bigger future. Layer 2, pressure. And this is where the story turns sharper. Trump has never been shy about using pressure on allies. Tariffs, public threats, blunt leverage. He treats economic tools as political tools. So one version of this Greenland strategy is not friendly partnership. It's forcing movement through pressure, making Denmark feel costs for resisting. In the moment that happens, Greenland stops being a U.S.Denmark issue. It becomes a NATO issue because it tests trust inside the alliance. Can the U.S. push a smaller ally over territory and still claim it's defending the rules-based order? Layer 3. The reputational and escalation risk. This is the hardest price because it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. If the U.S. is seen as bullying an ally over territory, it weakens the West's moral argument against territorial revisionism elsewhere. It gives Russia and China easy propaganda. It heats up internal debates inside NATO. And it also pressures Greenlanders themselves because it forces a sharper identity choice. Stay closer to Denmark? Move closer to the United States? Or accelerate independence to avoid being pulled into a bigger power struggle? So why does Trump really want Greenland? Because in a world where geography is back, Greenland is leverage over Arctic security, over North Atlantic routes, over early warning systems, and over long-term supply chain options. And what is he willing to pay? Not just money. He's signaling he may pay in alliance friction, economic pressure, and strategic controversy, because he believes the future is being decided on the edges of the map, not only in capitals. Greenland looks like ice, but politically, it's a pressure point. And that's why this story won't go away. If you want calm, fact-based analysis of global power shifts, subscribe. Headlines change. The logic behind them doesn't.